All right. Why don't we move into our next big topic here? Perfectly good 2-year-old MacBooks are getting scrapped because of activation lock, while new Pro models SSD is found to be worse than the predecessor. Ooh, some bad news for Apple this week. Last week, computer repair store owner John Bumstead claimed that shops like his are being flooded with MacBooks that cannot be refurbished or resold thanks to Apple's activation lock feature, leaving no option but to sell them for parts or, more likely, for scrap. The feature, which comes on Macs with the T2 security chip introduced in 2018, allows the user to encrypt their data so that only the user can access it using Touch ID. The problem is that nothing, even a factory reset, can disable the lock unless the original owner turned off Find My or used the Erase Assistant prior to turning the laptop in. Bumstead says that previous owners are rarely responsive, being in large part companies and schools that are upgrading hundreds or thousands of machines, and while he's heard of ways to bypass the T2 lock, those methods don't survive a reset, which would screw over whoever buys the resold device. As Apple Insider points out, Apple does have a process for removing activation lock from used devices, provided that eBay or whatever gave you a receipt, but the method doesn't work if the previous owner hasn't removed the device from their account. Bumstead wants that fixed, like this. Oh, I have a link here, apparently. Ah, cool. So here's a solution that is proposed. When we come upon a locked machine that was legally acquired, we should be able to log into our Apple account, enter the serial and any given information, then click a button and submit the machine to Apple for unlocking. Then Apple could explore its records, query the original owner if it really wants to, and then if at the end of the day there are no red flags, the original owner doesn't protest within 30 days, the device should be auto-unlocked.
It's never going to fly if it has to go through Apple.
Absolutely never going to fly if it has to go through Apple. And even if it didn't have to go through Apple, like one of the things that I pitched to our writer before even looking at John Bumstead's ideas was, you know how, okay, no, you probably don't, but okay, Dan, you know how when you're logging in on an Apple device, it's pretty common for a 2-factor code to just kind of pop up on your other Apple device that's logged into the same account?
Yeah, we had that a lot the other day.
Yeah, I get that a lot on our teleprompter, which is really annoying. Anytime MAC address is off-site shooting somewhere, and it's like, hey, you're logging in from an unusual location. I am trying to read the script! Anywho, I think that it would be pretty chill if the device is still in my account. If someone else had it and was like, hey, requesting an unlock, I could see Apple selling that as a feature. Hey, for that previous owner or potential theft victim, here's the current whereabouts of your machine. Did you know about this? That could be pretty useful. And for the recent acquirer of said machine, it would be great to be able to send a ping to the previous owner that's like, hey, I bought this. It's still in your account. Can I use it? That would be great. However, that also assumes that everyone would kind of act in good faith in this situation.
I was going to say fair play here is going to be an issue.
Which could be a big problem, and I could see Apple getting stuck as an arbiter of these kinds of disputes, which they're not going to want to do.
They won't do it, yeah.
And I think they're going to make privacy arguments about, locations of devices being passed to new owners and things like that. But bottom line is, we gotta have some kind of solution, right? And if this other news is anything to go by, the new solution is not to simply just upgrade to the newest MacBook. In somewhat related news, the SSD in Apple's newest entry-level 14-inch MacBook Pro, so this is with the M2 Pro processor, 512 gigs of storage, it is significantly slower than its predecessor in the 2021 14-inch MacBook Pro, so with the M1 processor and 512 gigs of storage. Though confirmed by multiple reports, evidence was first shared by Daniel of YouTube channel Zone of Tech, who clocked the 2023 model's SSD at just shy of 3 gigabytes a second write and 2,700 megabytes a second of reads, and that is, wow, half a gig and over a gig slower, respectively, than the 2021 model. He guessed correctly that Apple is apparently pulling the same thing that they did back in June, replacing the dual NAND chip configuration in the M1 model with a single chip. And this was confirmed by YouTuber Max Tech and 9to5 Mac. Tom's Hardware further notes that the new M2 Mac Mini features similar SSD performance degradation compared to the M1 Mac Mini from 2020, confirmed by Twitter user at Tablerone and YouTuber Brandon Geekabit. I mean, the new one comes in $100 less than the original MSRP, but like, what is the deal with this?
It's kind of whack.
Like, really?
Not a fan. I wonder if it's like the YouTube quality thing.
In what way?
I wonder if they like know people don't care.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it just sucks though, right? Like, as a
absolutely.
consumer, if I buy M2, is it not a fair assumption that it is better in every way than M1?
Just as good or faster. Yeah.
I mean, there are certain situations where, sure, I can see some justification for this. Okay, so say, for example, an electric car. If you go with a top performance spec, it might have less range. But there's a logical reason for that. If I get an M2 processor, theoretically, I would expect it to have a better storage controller. Like, it shouldn't... Like, that's not... that.
The only thing you could reasonably really assume is that maybe the battery dies faster.
Sure. Yeah, maybe it has
in the same kind of
exactly
concept.
the same sort of trade-off.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's pretty clear that Apple is taking a, whatever, these plebs won't notice approach.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's less about the hardware and it's more about the experience. It's more about the ecosystem. And it's just, it's frustrating. And the thing is, like, I'm not the one who should be mad about this.
Yeah.
Apple users are the ones who should be mad. And yet it feels like Apple's users are the ones most likely to just take it.
Not really care.
Over and over and over and over again. And I don't understand it.
Which is probably why they're doing it. I don't know. I really suspect it's speaking of which, I've brought up the YouTube quality thing a few times today because it's plaguing me. It will refuse to play any video that I open at anything other than the lowest possible quality.
Nice.
And I have to change it every single time.
Nice.
There's no learning happening because I do it every single time.
Nice.
And out of spite, I put it on the maximum possible
Nice.
one, despite that, like, I don't need that necessarily. I'm usually playing it in a small window on a side monitor.
Yeah.
I don't care. But no, now it's going full.
Take that,
Screw
Google.
you, man.
Take that.
I'm so annoyed. I have a feeling that, like, because I'll leave open, like, say the lo-fi thing or whatever.
Sure.
Because I'll, like, just listen to music or it's on my speakers so the birds will hear it or whatever. I pay for premium, but boy, I use it. But I'm, like, wondering if they're like, oh, he's using too much. Let's make him use less or something. I don't know. But, wow, that's annoying. I don't know.
Going back to the locks on the MacBooks, like, and then there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of try to tackle this, right? Like, obviously, if you just had removable SSDs that are not tied to the T2 chip, that would address the refurbishing
Because
issue.
the main issue is data privacy, right?
But that wouldn't... Well, no, the other main issue is device ownership, right? Like, we talked just last week about the benefits of encrypting devices.
This reduces the value in stealing one.
Exactly. It makes them worth so much less for a thief. And so it's not like I don't understand the benefits of doing it this way, but there has to be a way to tackle it, right? So one of the ideas here was from JamAmp, have students or parents, sign that they agree to pay for locked laptops that are returned. Oh my God. Instead of shifting the blame to Apple, shift the blame to the users who are not unlocking these bloody things.
Yeah, like it was said that if it's like last week, computer repair shop owner claimed that shops like his are being flooded with MacBooks that cannot be refurbished. Well, they're coming to you directly, it sounds like. So just try to get them to do it at the door. Obviously, if it's a school, the delivery person might just be like, I don't know, and just leave them. But like, some effort should be done there, I think.
There has got to be a way to do this. And if Apple actually cared about the environment, the way that they posture that they do, then they would solve it. Like, let's be real here. Their R&D budget has enough room in it if they were legitimately motivated to deal with this problem that they could find a solution. And it's one of those things where I realize I'm coming in here just kind of going, yeah, here's a problem. See you later. Like, I don't have the perfect solution. But I also I'm not the one who should have to. Like, I'm not the one who is manufacturing mountains of e-waste that do not need to be shredded. I'm not the one saying, oh, I just care so huggy-muggy much about the environment that I make the greenest devices ever. That's you. That's you. You're the one doing that. It's Apple's hypocrisy that bothers me so much about them. I saw a comment on a Floatplane exclusive recently that was Jonathan Horst reacting to something or other from Apple, like their new announcement of something, and it was like,
You've corrupted him.
The longer he works there, the more he sounds like a cynical, like non-Mac person. I'll tell you something about Jonathan Horst. So he was hired because he is analytical and maybe a little cynical, but still loves Apple. That was exactly who we were looking for a role like that, because we didn't want to be like every other Apple channel where we just go, oh, yes, please, just put it in my mouth. Do it. Right? Like we wanted to love Apple, but not in like a super submissive kind of way. We're not talking 50 Shades here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking like a healthy relationship.
50 Shades of Space Gray.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Thanks.